Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Rolling in Wonderland from XYZ Game Labs. Rolling in Wonderland is a 2 to 4 player dice drafting game. This here is a prototype, all rules and components with exchange, and I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. In the game, you're going to be playing out across 6 rounds, unless you trigger early endgame, which can happen, but is less common. All the players are going to take their dice, one of each color, and they're going to roll those dice, except for the ones which are dropped on the floor, which I will then grab and then roll. All players will take the dice, roll the dice, and then based on these symbols rolled, they're going to assign them to various spots on the board. So for example, we roll these dice, and then we take the dice and put them into their respective areas. We have those going over here. We have this guy over here going to the Mad Hatter area. Over here, I'll put them down there because I got a bit of a cat in the way. We have these over here. This one's going to Alice area. We have these going up here. We just find all the various symbols and put them into their respective spots on the board so that players can draft the dice. Because in these rounds, again, across these 6 rounds, or possibly less if the game ends triggers earlier, players are going to be drafting these dice, taking them from the areas. On a turn, you pick an area, and then you take the dice from that area. The main restriction you have to be mindful of is you only can take 6 dice. So how you take dice is going to change things. If I take these 5 dice from over here, that means I'll only be able to take 1 more dice the rest of the round. And don't worry, you could take a die with only 1 from an area, but you have to be able to you have to have a full spot in order to do that. You can't choose to take less. You have to take the maximum you're able to that you could fit on your player board. And so you're trying to weigh up these 6 possible actions in the game and the strength of those actions as you draft these dice, along with anything from your secret objective to some of Alice's cards. There's a whole lot of things you're going to be trying to balance as you go through this. So let's work our way through these areas so it'll all make a bit more sense. Over here in the Caterpillar, which surprisingly and shockingly, not a single dice across 18 dice, not a single one rolled the Caterpillar. But had we had some dice, let's go ahead and grab 1 or 2. We'll grab 2 dice over here, just show you what the Caterpillar spot would do if someone had those dice over there. So right now, if you took from the Caterpillar, you would look at the colors of those dice and you would move up on the Caterpillar track equal to those values. A green die is going to be 1 and a black die is 2, which means you would move up 1, 2, 3, and you'd activate all the various bonus spots on that board. So you're moving along this track over here, you will get points, and you're also activating the bonus spots of everything you land on or everything you cross in the game. That's what happens in the Caterpillar spot, and then you take those dice and you'd put them down over here. Then we go to the Queen of Hearts area. This is going to allow you to put people on the board. We have 4 dice. 4 dice means putting 2 people. So you go ahead and take these 2 and you put them in any spots on the board, trying to get that area control. Generally, you're going to want to go over here because this is going to score at the end of the round in addition to this area scoring each game. You're going to have these are going to be coming out each round. This will be moving to different spots on the board, and you're going to be scoring for every individual zone regardless at the end of the game. So going here is doubling up on how much I'm going to benefit by putting those there right now. But you take those dice, and again, you slot them into your board. I can only take 2 more dice the rest of the round. Although because of the fact that I took 4 dice, I can activate my personal special ability. Whenever a player takes 4 dice, they're going to activate their own asymmetric ability to go ahead and get a bonus, but you have to draft 4 dice or more in 1 action. We're going to go to the Cheshire Cat over here. Cheshire Cat, you're going to actually take these dice and they're going to line up with specific colors over here. There are color bands. You can see them behind the cards. So these 2 go over here, this one goes over here, and this one goes over here, which means those are the cards you can activate. These cards are variable game to game, and where they go is variable, but you're going to be able to activate those. If we take all 4 of these dice, we get to activate 2 of those abilities, but equal to where the dice are. So for example, I can go ahead and gain a mushroom and draw a Mad Hatter's card, and then once again, these will slot onto my personal player board. From there, we're going to go ahead and move over to the White Rabbit's area. The White Rabbit, you're going to draft the dice, and then once again, based on the color of the dice, you're going to move on the White Rabbit track, which is just straight up points. This is a good time to note that getting to the end of either of these tracks, moving all the way around over here, that's going to be the additional game end trigger. So right now with these 3 dice, we would get 2, then we'd have 4, that's going to be 6, and then we have this purple, which is another 4, that's going to be 10. You would move up over here 10 on the track, going straight over there, and getting those points out of the game, and then again, taking those dice and putting them on the board. Let's go ahead and pretend that yellow did that because that's the spot we're up to over there. It's yellow's turn. And we move back to green over here. Green is going to take 2 dice. This is where they can either take the 2 dice from Alice's area, but they could also take the dice from the Mad Hatter's area over here, and they're going to do that, but they can only take 2 of those dice dice, unfortunately, because they have these spots, they're going to go ahead and take these two. It doesn't really matter which ones they take in this particular area. And they're going to draw one Mad Hatter card. These are fun cards that let you break the rules in all kinds of fun ways. Anything from ongoing abilities to one-time use abilities. That's going to the Mad Hatter area. Between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, you draw 1, 2, or 3 cards. And then we go back to the blue over here. Blue's going to draft these cards, taking this as well, and then placing those dice. Because they took these 2 dice from Alice's area, you're going to take a card from Alice's area, and you're going to be able to assign these to Alice's cards over here. So for example, placing those on those, and as you fill those cards up, you're going to be able to get points at the end of the game. Those are the 6 areas of the board. Once again, a quick recap. The Caterpillar is going to have you moving up this track over here, getting a variety of benefits and points. Queen of Hearts will help you put people out onto the board in order to, and that's also going to be an endgame trigger if you put all your people on the board, by the way. But you have Queen of Hearts going to be giving you area control points across the board in all these areas for 4, 2, and 1 to first, second, and third place over here, and each area having their own scoring metric. Over by Alice is going to allow you to draft dice as well as taking a card over here, placing the dice you draft onto those cards in order to fill them up and get a bunch of points. Cheshire Cat lets you activate a bunch of variable abilities that change game to game. We have the White Rabbit, which will help you move up on this track that straight up gives you points, and then you have the Mad Hatter, which helps you draw cards that break the rules in all kinds of fun ways. There are some additional things we didn't really cover yet. For example, you're able to spend your mushrooms right now. You have players have 2 mushroom tokens. You're able to spend those to manipulate the dice to be able to re-roll them or to pull dice from other areas, although you can't manipulate black dice, and the reason for that is because when you draft black dice, you get to refill your mushrooms, and so you have to try to balance when you use those abilities versus what you're drafting that will pull those things back. Oh, I went back to this player over here. I'm supposed to be able to go ahead and do that and draw one more card because they have one more spot. That's basically how you play through a game of Rolling in Wonderland, going through 6 rounds, drafting from each of these areas, activating their abilities as you try to win by the end of the game. Which makes me a review of what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking. And starting with what I like, this game is simple, clean, fun. It's just straightforward. The game teaches very quickly. You can get people up and running, and it's surprisingly fun to try to balance what you're drafting and from where you're drafting. Anything from the colors of the dice, the abilities. The ability cards are everything, by the way. I love the Mad Hatter area. It's one of my favorite places to go, at least early on in the game. We'll get to that later, but early on in the game, you're basically just able to just go ahead and draw cards and then use those cards, combo them with various other areas you're going to in order to benefit from their abilities. So I love the ability cards. It's also one of the things that keeps the game variable, which you know me and my games. I like when games are different every single time you play them, and the Mad Hatter cards are one of the main things that stop this from being just going for the same patterns every single time, because those cards can very much drive your strategy in different directions based on you trying to maximize what you can get out of those cards. Not to mention the fact that you get ongoing abilities, slowly modifying your own tableau in addition to your own starter ability. You can modify your tableau, giving you different reasons to do different things based on those ongoing cards. Speaking of variability, the cards over here in the Cheshire Cat area, those also can be a lot of fun. We'll get a little bit into that and things I can see others not into. We'll get a little into that and things that I don't like as well. But overall, I like the variability that the cards provide and the way it mixes up the game. Again, making sure it's not just the same static concept. But outside of that, every single area just adds nicely to the game in different ways. We have area control. We have 2 different tracks to move up on. We have dice drafting on these cards. We have the abilities. There's a lot of small little things that all just make a simple roll a bunch of dice, draft those dice, and try to build all those together to slightly optimize how much you get out of the system versus others. Very often you're juggling getting 1 extra return. For example, if you go to the Queen of Hearts, drafting 1 or 2 dice from Queen of Hearts is still going to give you only 1 person. So it's better to take 1 die than 2, but sometimes when you get to 4 over here, you get to activate your abilities, so there's a trade-off over there. Also being able to get a lot of things done at once, and or the way you combo with, again, those Mad Hatter cards to go back to there. Very often there are cards that reward you for being able to take a lot of dice from different places, so there always are these incentives to take more as opposed to taking less. Although there's lots of incentives to take less as opposed to more, so it's really just trying to balance what the game state looks like, what you're going to force others into as well. It's another thing. You can end up forcing others into poor decisions, which you're going to want to do when you're not hurting yourself along the way. But basically, it's just fast dice drafting. It plays very quickly. It teaches very easily. It's just a fun time. As far as things I don't like in the game, there's a few small things. First of all, the biggest thing I'm going to say is, despite the fact that there is variability through the Mad Hatter cards as well as the Cheshire Cat area, I think it's less variability than I would like. And don't get me wrong, I'm still very much in the new phase of this game, having only played it a bunch of times, so I'm still enjoying it a lot, but I can see that potentially, as I play this more, there's not a ton of variation to the game experience. The only thing that changes it up is going to be the Cheshire Cat area and the Mad Hatter cards. From those, I like the Cheshire Cat area, and I love the Mad Hatter cards, so this is the main thing that keeps it interesting for me, but outside of that, it's just drafting dice from 6 core areas, so the game is going to suffer from some degree of similarity and repetitiveness as you dive into it game after game. Other small things, some of them are prototype issues, or at least I think are prototype issues. One thing, for example, is the Mad Hatter card in the current format of the game. The Mad Hatter cards, they don't give you anything for having them at the end of the game, which makes that spot just not worth going to when you get into that last round. Maybe even the second last round, it becomes less useful because they're not as situationally able to take advantage of them. I do know this is something they're already mindful of and that may well have changed by the time you get to the final game, but based on where I am so far with it, that's a small minor complaint. I'll also say the Cheshire Cat area, this is an area I wanted to like more than I did, and I think I just feel like I don't get as much out of this area in terms of activating things relative to other areas. I wish these cards were either a little more interesting, maybe even more interesting with less activations, but it does feel like that could be a very cool area, and sometimes and depending on the cards you draw, sometimes it just feels like a bit of a wild area as opposed to something that feels much more interesting to go to. As far as I can see others not liking, there's definitely times you're going to be pulling a bunch of dice that aren't going to help you as much. There's times you're going to be stuck without a good draw, depending on turn order. Sometimes you can be drafting dice from Alice without a card to put them on, and that can be frustrating. If you have to take 2 dice from Queen of Hearts, that's one of the least fun things to do in the game. Like 6 feels like whatever, okay, you got all 6. 4, at least you get your ability, but 2 is like just take 1 die when you're able to, and sometimes you don't have a choice in how things play out. As far as final thoughts on Rolling in Wonderland, this is a charming, simple game that's not going to be like, oh my gosh, the best game ever. At least not for me, it's not. But it is surprisingly fun for what it's doing. This is one that as soon as I played it, I immediately played it again that night because it was just like, I played it once and then I was like immediately played it the same day because I was excited about how much fun it was. And having continued to play it, it still is in that fun phase. It still is in that roll a bunch of dice, draft various areas, and it's just a quick game. It plays in 45 minutes, you just get a lot done and you feel accomplished as you play things out, as you go for all your things. You start off with a special objective you're going for. You have some cards over here. You're just trying to balance it all as you build up a tiny bit of tableau building and ultimately just try to optimize your dice drafting. Overall, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I do wonder where it'll be down the road. That 4 out of 5 is based on where it is right now. And again, I do have those small concerns around variability, but for what it's doing, I think it's just a lot of fun. It looks great. I didn't even say this, by the way. It looks great and just a quick, simple, fun game with a good theme. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Sagrada if you want another dice drafting game that's been around for a very long time. And if you want another dice drafting that's surprisingly fun, Dice Miner is always just more compelling than it has any right to be as you pull various dice from a little plastic mountain. Well, it depends if you have the deluxe edition, if you have that plastic mountain or the cardboard mountain instead. It's kind of depends on which version you have. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you found this review helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.